In today's episode of the Discipline Degens podcast, Matty Betts and Gino bring Peter Appel, the founder of Just Baseball and one of the hottest handicappers in baseball and football so far this season. Early on in the episode, they discuss how Peter started his media company, then they move on to a recap of the insane Week 2 in the NFL, and they end with MLB postseason bets as well as Week 3 NFL plays. So enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Discipline Degens. I'm your host, Matty Betts. I got the biggest degen I know with me, Gino Donati. And today we got a special guest, Peter Appel, founder of Just Baseball and Just Gridiron fans, right? Is there anything that you can't do, Pete?
Oh, there's plenty of things that I can't do, but there are a couple of things that I'd like to say that I'm good at. Talking baseball, talking about football, and betting on them. But yeah, there's plenty of things that I'm terrible at. Like video games, I suck.
Dude, I'm the same way. I used to be good at FIFA in college, but other than that, I'm terrible. But what's your record? I saw you have a crazy record this season already in baseball. You're killing it in football this year, and you did well last year.
Yeah, so I'm 24 years old, so I live and I learn, and I just try and get better every year. And last year in the MLB, we were 56%, but I was up 15.87 units or 15 point whatever. And I learned from that. Like I was just taking stuff with too much juice, like minus 160, minus 170 money lines. And when you lose on those, like it's worse. So really this year, I'm like, I'm not taking anything above minus 140 because what I know is that in baseball, anything could happen. And realistically, no team should be above minus 140 because it's a flip of the coin. That's what makes baseball so awesome. So this year, I'm winning at a 55% rate and I'm up 37 units to date in the MLB, and that's helped with this new way of thinking. And then next year, hopefully to build on that. Last year in football, up around 13, 14 units, and now we're on a 16-4-1 run in the NFL. Now we're up around 12. So just getting better year over year.
Impressive. Bro, going up anything in the NFL for a season, to me, is impressive. It's a very hard sport, truthfully.
Yeah, I'll be great if I just go 50% for the rest of the year, then I'm up.
Exactly. So tell the audience how you got started. We'll do a quick background story on Just Baseball, and then we'll dive into recapping NFL, the picks, everything everybody wants to hear. But me personally, I'd love to hear too. How do you start Just Baseball? I know you have some MLB players that have invested or involved. Love to hear a little bit about that before we dive into things.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks guys for having me on, by the way. So how it started, I was working in season ticket sales for the Yankees. I'd worked for them for 2 seasons, and my 2 partners, Jack McCall and Aram Layton, the 2 hosts on the Just Baseball show, like I do. Cause I also pride myself on like, I'm a baseball analyst first, and I use that knowledge in order to gamble rather than I'm a gambler who also talks baseball. Like that's how I view myself, as more of like a baseball analyst. So we thought to ourselves that MLB isn't getting current coverage across most major landscapes. And we thought, well, TikTok is huge. Why don't we create a website that covers the 6 verticals that we find important in baseball, whether that's MLB coverage, fantasy, gambling, college, trading cards, and MLB prospects, all in one website, and try and build a social presence. And we thought if we could get to 1,000 followers, so we started April 1st, if we get to 1,000 followers by the launch of our website, which was like at the end of June, we'd at least have something, right? That there would be enough people who wanted to watch our content. And then we were just at 55,000 by then. So it just really accelerated that growth. We started our podcast that has now done extremely well. We've had a bunch of players. We've had guys like Bob Costas on, a lot of really cool guests that we've had. And then, we started Prospect Podcast, and then Jeff Conine, who's a Miami Marlin legend. He's a Hall of Famer in the eyes of the Miami Marlins, multiple-time All-Star. He got involved as well. And now we have a bunch of podcasts on the network. We have growing staff of writers. We have our interns who help us with social. And it's really Aram, Jack, and I on the forefront of content. And we just make content through a bunch of different angles. And we feel as young people, we cover the game a little bit differently, but I would argue we know as much as all the big wigs up there, and or at least we feel that we grind harder. Maybe we don't know more, but we're in the weeds more, and that's what we pride ourselves on.
For sure. I'll tell you one thing. You know me, I don't particularly love betting baseball or even watching it. But yours is still one of my favorite pages to watch, the Just Baseball page on TikTok, just because of how engaging and entertaining and informational it is. So that says a lot about what you guys are doing, because I'm telling you, I'm not a fan of watching baseball, and I look forward to seeing your videos every single day on TikTok. So,
my man, I appreciate that. Like I am obsessed with the sport. Like, played it since I was 2. I was supposed to go to college, broke my elbow, one of those kind of classic things. Wrote my college essay about how I'm going to be the GM of the Yankees. I'm obsessed with it. And I hope my passion for the game comes across through these different mediums, because that's all I am. I'm not perfect. I'm not right all the time, but I like to say I'm right more often than I'm wrong. And when I'm wrong, I learn from it. When I'm right, I'll let you know.
That's all you can do. I love it. Let's shift gears into the NFL. I want to hear from Gino. What did you think of week 1, bro? How about them San Francisco 49ers, or week 2?
We're back, baby. This is the team we should have been. I'm ready for my boys. I think we're a top 5 NFC team, and I don't think there's any question in that. More importantly than my Niners, your Eagles are flying high.
Bro, I've been on record for the last year talking about Jalen Hurts, and I'm not going to get too high, even though I got a little high last night on it. But I'm not going to get too high because it's 1 week of football. Like, he could have had a bad performance, and I wouldn't want people to say that he's a terrible quarterback. Just like he has a great performance, I can't say, okay, he's a top quarterback in the league now. But what I will say is A.J. Brown has given him some serious confidence. They have a great roster. I mean, you sent me something on Instagram today, Gino, that people are saying they're the top team in the NFC now, which I'm not ready to go there, and I'm an Eagles fan. But the roster is impressive. The secondary is as good as it's been in a long time. So I'm excited to see, what this team can do. I have a bet at the Circa. I don't know if I sent you that, Gino, but it's 200 to win 4,200 on Eagles Super Bowl. So we'll see what happens. But the craziest thing that I thought out of week 2, 3 favorites lost double-digit leads in the fourth quarter. We have the Raiders, the Ravens, and the Browns. Obviously, you guys know I'm doing my underdog campaign, taking every dog the whole way. So that was like music to my ears. What did you guys think about those games? Do you think this is something we'll continue to see throughout the season, or do you think it's kind of like more of a fluke thing?
You want to go first? You tell me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a fluke thing that it happened 3 times, but do I think that favorites will blow leads across the season? Of course. I mean, that's why football is awesome. That's why more often than not you go with the dog, because they can cover the points, and that's why you're betting on underdogs over the full season. So is it fluky the way that it happened? I mean, especially with the Jets and the Browns, and then the Raiders and the Cardinals. The Ravens and Dolphins I thought was interesting because the Dolphins started up 7 with that kick return from Duvernay. Like, the Ravens just got off to a really hot start, but it wasn't like they absolutely blew it. More that the Raiders and the Browns blew it. That was Ravens and Dolphins. I just viewed as like an incredible game. So yeah, I think it will happen again, but will it happen 3 times in 1 week? I'm not so sure.
Bro, the Ravens or the Browns, there's a minute 55 left, and they were up 13, I think it was. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. I was happy to get the backdoor cover because Gino and I had Jets plus 6.5 as one of our plays of the week, which it was an ugly play. And as soon as they scored that touchdown to get the backdoor cover, I was like, cool, I'm not going to win the money line, but at least I'm going to get the backdoor cover here. Next thing you know, they recovered that onside kick. Once they got the onside kick, I was like, there's no chance they're not scoring at this point after this kind of comeback. It was an unbelievable game. And then the Dolphins, on the other hand, like, I was just blown away by what Tua did, but more importantly, what the receivers were able to do after the catch for Tua, because I think that is what's not talked about enough, truthfully.
And I was going to say, too, I've watched this NFL the parity in the NFL is getting better and better every year. Right now we're seeing Buffalo and Philly question that. Like, are they the 2 clear best teams that'll blow people's doors off? Potentially, we'll see. But I think the parity in the NFL will make for a lot closer games, kind of piggybacking on your policy with baseball. I would say maybe not that low, but I probably wouldn't go over a minus 200 in football. Just period. I don't think anyone mathematically is over 67-33 likelihood to win out of 100 games in the NFL. So that's probably where I would draw. If I had to borrow from you and change it for the NFL, I'd probably draw my line at like minus 200, especially for this year.
I just don't bet on sports anything really above minus 140. Like, give me the spreads, give me the totals. I'm not laying juice. I just don't lay juice, and that has been at least profitable for me in both sports. Like, I don't lay juice. The reason why we love sports is anything can happen. So why would you lay it? Yeah.
To piggyback with you, I would say nothing blows my mind more than when I see guys like doing 3 and 4 and 5 team parlays with like -5 and 600. I'm like, dude, why are you exposing yourself to needing 5 wins to get one? Like, you could literally take any one of those teams minus the spread and get the same odds. I don't really understand the mind state. It doesn't make sense to me, needing 5 things to happen versus 1.
The funniest part is, like, if they have a 5-leg parlay and the 5th leg is like -4 or 500, I wonder if they even look at the difference in payout if they just took that off of just remove that last leg, because it's not that much of a difference when you're adding like a -400 in there.
Not at all.
Which is crazy. Speaking of parlays, did you guys see the bettor that turned $7 in the 252K? And did you see that he cashed out 2 legs early? Did you see that, Peter?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see that?
No. What is that?
Oh my God! All right, I got to give Peter the story here. All right.
He even tried to cash out at 150.
Bro, all right. So I DM'd this dude on Twitter. I forget his Twitter handle, but he grew like 5,000 to 10,000 followers overnight from this thing on Twitter. He had like 1,000 followers. And long story short, he had a $7 parlay, 25 legs, Peter, 25 legs in college football, right? He hit the first 23 legs, right? He hits the first.
What were they? Were they like?
There was money lines in there. There was point spreads, totals. I mean, when you have 25 legs, you have fucking everything in there. So he hits the first 23 legs, right? This is on FanDuel, I believe it was. FanDuel or DraftKings? I think FanDuel. He goes to cash out. He puts a video on Twitter of like a screen record on his laptop, trying to cash out 130,000. It says error or something on the sports book. He then pings FanDuel support. They hit him back and say, you know how in all these cash outs and parlays, there's all these terms and stuff. And basically the response was it was a legal bullshit response that there's a chance they might not be able to cash out. So the guy puts it on Twitter. It starts going viral, right? By the time the support gets back to him and says, okay, you can cash out, he makes an extra 120 grand because the 24th leg of the parlay was that much more likely to win, right? He was basically a leg and a half away from hitting this thing, right? So he hits the cash out button. He wins 252 grand, 23 and a half legs into the parlay, right? The 24th leg hits, the 25th leg hits. He would have won $1,016,000 instead of 250, but he cashed out an hour and a half early. And it makes, like, I'm happy for the guy because this guy was betting $7. He just made $250,000.
Exactly.
He's gonna have to pay taxes and whatnot, but let's forget about that part. He just made $250,000 off a $7 bet. So I'm happy for him. And like I tweeted and did videos about this. I got a lot of hate, but my point of the whole thing was the sports books, even when they lose, they still win. Like FanDuel just saved $750 because a guy got cold feet, a leg and a half into his parlay and cashed out. And this is what I would tell everybody. Like, there's a reason there's a cash out button on your parlays. Like, I always tell people don't cash out. But my one disclaimer is if it's life-changing money, either hedge or cash out. I'm not even telling people they should do that, but I'm saying if it is life-changing money and you decide to cash out or hedge, then I just don't think anybody should be able to I wouldn't blame that person, right? Like they made a decision that's right for them financially. But it just makes me sick that a sports book saved $750,000 just by someone cashing out. That's just sick. I can't believe you didn't see that, bro.
I didn't see that, and I actually I don't know how I didn't see that. I mean, that's an insane story, and that was over the weekend.
In your defense,
also because a bunch of people have different size units, for example. So it's like $7 to him could be 0.7 units.
Yeah.
Or $7 to him, or $7 could be 0.0007. It's totally dependent on that. Like, if he's a $10 game better, good for you. Like, that's what most people should probably be at when they aren't. Like, you got to look at your bankroll and like, truly, what is 1% of your bankroll? Like, I bet $10 is probably what your bankroll should be. But regardless of that, like, if you're able to pull 250, like he won, but the sportsbooks won, and not only did they save 750,000, like that's a rounding error for some of these sportsbooks at this point. What they get is marketing. I mean, you just inspired hundreds of thousands of new bettors to throw in 25. Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of new 25 leggers. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, literally. No, you finished my sentence for me, Gino. They inspired millions of people to start throwing 25 leggers when that'll be the only thing. And he cashed out, so it didn't even hit.
They'll get that 250 back. They probably got it back on Thursday Night Football parlays.
Yeah.
Bro, they got it back on Sunday. That was a game day. That was college Saturday.
Oh, it was college.
That was college on Saturday. They got that shit back Sunday.
In Peter's defense, I wouldn't have heard about this if it wasn't for Matt. Matt sent me the thread. I wouldn't have caught it.
It was all over you know how it is with all these media companies, right? When something like this happens, BRBetting posts it, everyone posts it, right?
Yeah.
But I was happy the guy made $250,000. That's still a good story. It reminds me of my Royal Flush story when I hit a hand for $50K and it should have been $270 based on the math. But it was a table max payout. It's like one of those things where you still have to be grateful and happy, but you're like, shit, I could have won so much more.
That sucks. The max payout, that sucks.
Speaking of, do you have a story, Peter, like the most you've won on an event or in a run? Like, you're so young. Do you have like a little heater or a story that stands out to you?
There was, this start to the season going 16-4 has been great. Yeah. I really, really killed it in the Super Bowl. I was in Vegas. I'm a Rams fan. And we didn't cover the spread. That was the only bet I lost. But I took like Cooper Kupp. And this was, I'm in Vegas, so I'm irresponsibly putting units down on things where I shouldn't have, and it ended up working. That's why I always I am due to get crushed next time I go to Vegas. But I doubled everything up, hit Cooper Kupp plus 750, hit Rams money line, hit some parlays, and left Vegas with the most money I've ever left in one sitting. And my team won the Super Bowl. So that's the one that shines brightest in my mind. But awesome. my greatest bet ever, and I still talk about this, it wasn't the amount of money, it was just how unbelievable the game was Cubs money line game 7 of the World Series against the Indians. That is still, I remember it so clearly. I was a freshman in college. I was watching in the dorms with my friends. It was the biggest bet I'd ever put to date. And it was baseball personified. It was unbelievable. The comebacks back and forth, the Rajai Davis home run, and then the Cubs close it out, and how hyped, because my dad used to be a Cubs fan. It was just perfect. It was the perfect bet. And that's the one I remember. But that Super Bowl last year, I came away with, I don't like to talk about the specific amounts of money on the internet, but
I get it.
Way more than I ever have from an event.
And trying to piggyback on that, you might like this one being a baseball guy. My sophomore year in college, I was watching the Yankees Red Sox when the Yankees went up 3-0. And I literally ran online and I saw it plus 1,200. And I bet the Red Sox just $100, but for me, 1,200 back then was like 2 months rent. And I was like, I'm watching this series. I was like, yeah, the Yankees are up 3-0, but they're not that much better than this Red Sox team. I was watching every game, drinking. I'm like, and I don't have a dog in that fight. I'm a Giants fan, so we've had our runs, but that's arguably my greatest single bet in my history, like, because I'm not a baseball guy. I was just watching the game, and I'm in a room where everyone's like, bro, no one comes back from 3-0. Like, you're throwing away 12x. And I'll agree now, should have paid way more than 12x. But I argued with an entire room, ran off to my desktop computer at the time, placed it, took like a photo of it on my freaking flip phone and showed it to the homies and was like, I'm about to get $1,200. And I talked about the whole rest of that series for like a week.
That is so electric. One of the greatest quotes I've ever heard is from that series when Kevin Millar says, "Don't let us win tonight. We got Pedro going game 5. We got Schilling going game 6, and anything could happen in game 7." I'm a Yankee fan. That still gives me chills to this day. Like that, the 4 Days in October, that documentary is one of the greatest movies of all time. I don't care about documentaries. I don't care about the movies. One of the greatest movies of all time. That's baseball. That's why. How can you not be romantic about baseball? It's perfect.
Were they dogs in that game?
Yeah, they're probably dogs in all of them.
I don't remember. The Yankees were powerful. I don't remember if it was 4 dog losses or maybe they were favored when they went back to Boston for a couple. It was a close series either way.
Because like Schilling with the ankle. Like he's bleeding out of his ankle. You got Pedro, who's your daddy, and then you got Game 7 with Derek Lowe on the mound, and the Red Sox go up like 10-0. It's just incredible. It was
a great series of events, and I just literally didn't even think it through. My plan was to hedge game like 6 or 7, but then I watched them winning, and I was like, no, momentum shifted.
Yeah,
momentum shifted. I was like, let's ride this out. You actually alluded to a personal rule, so I want to touch on that for a second. You mentioned in baseball, you draw the line at -140. Maddie and I, and you as well, I have a lot of respect for you. We obsess over educating people. It's not as fun. It's not as flashy as posting 10-game parlays that paid someone $100,000. But do you have any other personal rules that you'd give someone that's brand new to gambling?
Don't parlay.
Don't parlay.
I straight bet, and I will stand behind straight bets the day I die. The biggest comment I've gotten throughout the years is, would you parlay these picks? No, I would not. If I go 1-1, I'm at least going to make it out fine. If you go 1-1 in your parlay, you're losing the parlay. I'm not here to lose money. I'm here to make money. Like, I bet to make money with my baseball knowledge. That's what I'm here for. Like, I think it's fun. Like, the only way you should bet on a parlay is if it's for entertainment. Like, that's the only way a parlay makes sense. If if let's say your unit size is $100 and you want to throw $10 on a parlay of all the games, screw it. Like, whatever. It's fun. It's not gonna do anything. That's lunch money. Like, whatever. 100%. But like if
like
you're
$7.
Yeah, it's $7. Like if so, that's one rule that I always say. Like, if you wanted to, like, if I'm parlaying these, like, okay, we'll take a -170 money line, but I don't do that. I just think the reason I love sports and why all people love sports is because anything can happen, and on any given day, any team can win. So whatever it is, you'll never see me on something -140 or above. And that's not something like, I'm not saying like, oh, if you take a -150 money line, it's like out of the question. No, I mean, there's the time and place for it. Like, if I see a -150 where I legit think it should be -200, I might play it. But like, more often than not, that doesn't happen much. So that's just been my MO. It's like, I like to find value in those pick'em games. Like, where I think I have the small edge, or totals I play a lot because, I know how this pitcher is going to face against this offense, like all that kind of stuff. So my biggest piece of advice is like, don't parlay and don't chase. Like, people put so much on Sunday Night Football. People, like, when you lose, like, if I go 0-2 in the day, I get so many like DMs and people in our chalkboard chat, like, what are we doing the night slate to get it back? I'm like, the reason I didn't bet on the night slate at 10 in the morning was because I didn't like the night slate. Not because now I'm going to go bet on the night slate because I lost. That makes no sense, because there's always tomorrow. So don't chase, don't parlay, and more often than not, go with the dog.
There we go. I love all of those, including the last one.
I was going to say, we got playoff baseball coming up here. Matty, are you gonna talk him into your system? Just getting him bet every dog every day for playoff baseball and see if it cashes?
I'm not going to talk Peter into anything baseball-wise. He's going to ask Peter. I used to text him and be like, yo, I need action today. Give me something. And I would just tail his MLB picks. I can't name 10 players in baseball, bro. I really could. If you put a gun to my head right now and said name 10 players in MLB, I would struggle. I really would.
I think I can go through pretty much every roster in baseball and give you all the players.
That's impressive.
Wow.
All right, so we do a series on here, Peter. It's called Facts or Cap. I'm gonna get this thing started. The first one, Gino's gonna love this one. Kyle Shanahan set Trey Lance up to fail. Facts or cap?
That's
you want me to go first, Gino, or you want to go first?
You go first.
That's cap. Of course, it's cap. And that doesn't even make sense. Like I heard some things like after the game, like should you have ran it there with Trey Lance? He's playing football. It's football. You know, there's not a play that a guy like Trey Lance with all of his athleticism shouldn't do in any scenario. Like that almost like doesn't make sense. I don't even really have much to say other than that it has to be cap.
It has to be cap. Go back to our draft. Go back to the critique of Shanahan's offense and the Niners, why we didn't win. It's because he didn't have a mobile quarterback that could run the run pass option. So what did we do? He drafted someone to run the run pass option. So what did he do when he got him? He ran the run pass option. Now, what I think is very interesting, and you guys know I'm a diehard, so you got to keep me contained on my Niners shit. What should be talked about is why didn't Trey hand that ball off and run up the middle? That's what should be talked about. Mr. Quarterback, Mr. Franchise, you had a run pass option. Why didn't you hand the ball off? Why did you hold that ball when there was no opening there? But that's not the narrative of the internet. The internet is there to blame 9 out of 10 times the wrong person.
I literally found that from the internet. I figured it'd be great from the show, because you know how it is. People on Twitter, articles, all sorts of stuff.
I love it.
Because there's one narrative right now that Kyle Shanahan is like what was the word? You know what I'm talking about, Gino? People are saying that Kyle Shanahan is like, he's not a people person. Like he doesn't give a shit about, I don't know. It was something going around Twitter.
I've heard them say he's insensitive. He's arrogant.
Yeah.
I think he's frustrated, dude. He is an offensive mastermind, and he's come up inches short twice, dude. We came up short in the Kansas City Super Bowl. We came up a duck interception away from going back to the Super Bowl versus Cincy. Like, I think he's frustrated. I think he's human and he's frustrated.
Agreed.
How many of his running backs have gone down? He's getting tired of that. Like,
yeah,
Bosa went down. Like, geez, the poor guy. So I mean,
but Gino, in that system, in that system, you could play running back. I mean, he's Jeff Wilson Jr. I mean, he looks great.
Ironically,
how's Raheem Mostert doing in Miami?
Exactly. Ironically, everyone's just looking at the short sides, but I don't want to make this a Niners show. I always promise to hold back and move on. Matty,
it's funny. I know you guys are Niners and Eagles. Like, I love your two teams, especially
you want to know something funny, Peter? We're in the Circa Millions contest. $1,000 buy-in, winner gets $1 million, and then the top 100 people get thousands of dollars, whatever the number is. Last place actually gets 100,000, which is pretty funny.
No way.
But week one, we have to pick 5 teams against the spread. I'm on the phone with Gino putting the picks in. He said, dude, it's week one. Crazy shit happens. Let's just take our home teams. We're homers. What do? We take the Eagles and the Niners, and we go 0 for 2 on those. And then we go 1 for 3 on the other 3. So we start off the Circus Millions League 2 for 5. Then we do 2 Survivor leagues. Did you see my video on the Survivor? What happened?
That was great.
We lost on Jets and Bengals. Jets was a user error on the kiosk. Don't even get me started about that. So we lose the 2 Survivor leagues for $2,000, and then week 1 in the Circa 5, we go 2 for 5. Now, granted, week 2 we just swept the board. We went 5-0. So we're back in it. We're 7-3. We're back. We're gonna make a run in this thing. I'm telling you. So we got to hit them in week 3, and we'll have good momentum. But we We need to go at least 4 for 5. That's what we need in this coming week.
At halftime of week 1, we looked like we were going 5-0. Does that count for anything?
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, Eagles were up big, Niners were up big. We could have very well been 4-1 week 1 and then 5-0 week 2, and we'd be at the top. So
yeah, I'm in a pickle here. I had a Rams money line against the Bills, which went great. That was one of my 1 losses so far. That was terrible.
On a survivor or just period?
No, just like one of my picks, just straight on the money line. But like I banned betting. I'm a Rams fan. I banned betting on them for the season. But man, do I love them against the Cardinals this week. Like I love them against the Cardinals. So like, dang it, what do? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I hear you.
And then I just want to stay on this playoff baseball because I think even for the casual, Matt, I'm going to call you the casual. No insult.
I'm less than a casual. I don't even know what you can call me.
But sincerely, I'm a baseball fan. I have the games on. I literally have my little brother log into my YouTube TV to keep my YouTube TV in the Bay Area, so I get all my local stuff. So for a casual, I will say if you're ever going to give baseball a chance, give it a chance in October. So I want to say what are some narratives you're most looking forward to for this postseason?
Narratives is an interesting way to phrase it. Well, there's just the narrative of Mets versus Braves. Mets have the highest payroll. Braves are coming off the last World Series as a winner. You know, they're in the same division. The division is coming to a close here, and they're neck and neck. Also, that the Dodgers may have one of the greatest teams ever. I mean, they are unbelievable. They're unbelievable. They're first in every traditional stat. They're first in every advanced stat. They have such a well-rounded unit. I think the Astros are scary. Astros are loaded now that they just got Lance McCullers Jr. back. The Central, nobody wants to win in that division between Cleveland, Chicago White Sox, and the Twins. Twins just choked. Guardians are probably going to win it, though. And then the Yankees. You have the Yankees and the Jays. And, the Yankees have Aaron Judge, who's making baseball history right now. He's one of 2 players one of like 3 or 4 since 2000 with a WAR over 10 with that Mookie Betts season and a couple of Trout seasons. I'm obsessed with it. I have no idea who's going to win. Well, I do. It's the Dodgers. But if you're going to take someone else, I don't know.
I'm going to drill down on some things you said. Remember, I'm keeping it casual. So, Mets, Yankees. That to me is a very popular narrative. Give me some sort of percentage. I know you're not saying bet it. I'm not telling anyone to run out and bet it. Like, are you that sold on the Dodgers that the Mets is just flash in the pan, no chance? Because I've seen teams that are the better teams don't win a baseball series.
Starting pitching wins championships. I will die on that narrative. But there is also a lot of data to support that you want to back really good offenses, which is clear, but it's not starting pitching alone. You have DeGrom and Max Scherzer. Anything is possible. You have Chris Bassett. Anything is possible. Like if the Mets go up 2-0 with DeGrom and Scherzer, they could win it. It's not outlandish. And to have a closer like Edwin Diaz is incredibly, incredibly strong. I would say the Mets have the second best chance to get in. But then I also think that the Yankees have the second best chance in the American League. So if we're looking at percentiles, I think it will be Dodgers Astros, which is chalk, but those are just the 2 best teams in my eyes who I just think will make it. Yeah. But I think the Yankees have the second best shot of the American League, and I think the Mets have the second best shot of the National League. But the Braves are right there, and don't sleep on the Cardinals either. So the National League is tougher.
Yeah.
But the Yankees have been just so up and down. So
and you gave me enough. I want to now drill deep. I'm trying to navigate your brain because I consider myself a baseball gambler. So I watch more games than most because I'll bet at least 5 games a week, 10 games a week, and I'll watch them all. But at the end of the day, similar to more Matty than you, I can name probably 20 starters in the league, not rosters. So what you just told me, if I'm hearing it correctly, your eggs are in the basket of that we will have that grudge match of how the Dodgers got beat by the Astros when they were cheating, right? Is that a fair narrative? Again, I'm trying to stay with narratives. There's going to be a chip on the Dodgers' shoulder, correct?
I mean, the Dodgers have won. There's chips on both shoulders, I would say. And in baseball, it's so tough with that. Football is much different because it's so physical. but it's tough to really gauge a chip on yourself. Like, you're in the World Series, like, you don't need any narratives. You are as fired up as possible. Like, I just go with who I think has the best team, and it may seem simple, but that's worked for me in the past too. And the Dodgers just have the best team, and they're better on most aspects than the Astros do. So I just think they're going to win it. Like, I hate to be simple like that, but it's just it's how it probably is.
And let's get into power hitter over in Yankee land. Do you take him this season or Barry Bonds 2002?
Well, on the surface, you would take Barry Bonds, but one took steroids.
I get it. I get it.
See, I at least knew that.
You know, one took steroids, and I like dwelling on this.
Oh, of course.
Steroids or not, Bonds Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
Okay, but that's interesting because
so this is my opinion on the whole
purists.
This is my opinion on it. I don't have a strong opinion. If you think that, if you're a purist, which I love talking to baseball purists because I love the way they can break down like baseball history in that front. I'm a baseball history fanboy.
Yep.
If you don't think that any of the people who have tested positive should be in the Hall of Fame, I agree with you. If you think that all of them should, I agree with you.
I get it.
But let's draw the line, right?
I get it.
Because there's some people who are in the Hall of Fame. Pudge Rodriguez probably took steroids.
I just want an asterisk. I want anyone that ever tested positive just to get an asterisk. It's like a what's the word? It's like a footnote. Hey, just so you know, this player failed the test here or there. Doesn't mean they're not a Hall of Fame player anyway.
This is not my quote. I think this is Tim Kirkshin, or it's one of the baseball brainiacs who I've been watching now for my whole life. The job of the Hall of Fame is to tell the story of baseball. And the story of baseball cannot be told without the steroid era.
It cannot.
It's simple, but that's how I summarize it. That's not my quote. That's something I heard, and I think that's a perfect way to describe the steroid era. Like, also, Bud Selig did this.
It was ratings. It goes. This all connects. This is why I like narratives. It goes back to what we just watched with the NBA and the crooked ref. That ref, is he saving his face? Probably, but it doesn't mean he's lying. Is there a chance the commissioner said, do not call as many fouls on superstars? Absolutely. That actually, to me, has nothing to do with this ref betting on basketball. We're actually talking about two totally separate things.
Literally.
So that's why I think it's so weird how if you want to be a GM, you want to analyze all of these things. I love your style. Too many people want to tell half a story. Tell the whole story and let people decide for themselves. Too many people, I think, pick and choose a lane.
I think that's fair.
Right? It's like,
I like it.
The whole story. So I'm going to hand it one more time, Maddie.
All right, you got 2 minutes because you hacked my show and turned it into baseball.
It's okay.
We have 10 minutes with Pete. I'm giving you 2 more minutes because then we're going back to NFL for the last 8.
Fair, no, I want it. Baseball's coming up. It's exciting. I wanted him to have this. So just final statement. It's going to be a Dodgers, Astros. And if it's not going to be them two, who's it more likely not to be? The use of the
do you maybe a better question is maybe you want some sleepers?
Like who? Yeah, if one was not going to be there, something like that. If you're just into dogs and you just refuse to bet on the two favorites, give me a storyline on a horse you could have in that race.
The Braves have great value because they are not much worse than the Dodgers and the Mets. They're right there, in my opinion. And what I've been noticing is that the books are undervaluing the Braves, and I'm not sure why. I have a future on them too, even though I don't really think they can win it. But I got it around plus 1,400 when the Dodgers and the Mets were like plus 800-900, and then the Cardinals were right there with the Braves. I'm like, the Braves are better than this. Like, the Braves are almost as good as them. They were one game away from the World Series when they lost to the Dodgers. They then won the World Series. This team has been there, done that, and they look just as good. They now have Spencer Strider, who looks unbelievable. He's one of their young pitchers, going to win Rookie of the Year. They have Michael Harris, who is going to finish second in Rookie of the Year voting in center field. Great defensive center fielder there. They have Max Fried, who is a certified dog in the playoffs. They have Chuck Morton, who's been there, done that. They have Kyle Wright, who's really had a great season so far, and they have a phenomenal bullpen. The only thing stopping them is that how good the Dodgers are and how good the Mets are. But if they can get through that, and they've proven they can beat up on better teams before, they could beat the Astros. So the Braves, in my opinion, have the best value of any team, and don't sleep on them winning the whole thing again.
I like it.
I'm sold. I'm betting on it.
Let's do it. I don't even know. I don't know what the value is currently. That's my only. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's moved. I haven't checked on the futures market in like a couple weeks.
I'll have to take a look. You sold me for sure. All right. I got some questions, some NFL questions now for you.
Let's do it.
Dog of the week. Do you like any dogs this weekend? I know we're early in the week, or just picks in general?
Well, like I said, I love my Rams this week. So it's like, should I put my money on them? I don't know, but maybe you should. Yes. I mean, Sean McVay has owned Cliff Kingsbury, and the Rams, they fell asleep in their game against the Falcons. Like, they blew them out. But also, like, you have one side where the Cardinals got blown out in week 1. Then you have another side where the Rams got blown out in week 1. Then you have a comeback victory by the Cardinals when they were getting blown out by the Raiders. Like, the Cardinals, I've been very low on them coming into the season. I'm still on that side. I do not think this is a good team. And how you can beat the Cardinals is through the air, and the Rams have a prolific pass attack, especially with how good Allen Robinson looked in week 1. Like, I think the Rams win this game by double digits. You go through the history of how the Rams have looked against the Cardinals. They just know how to play them. Cliff Kingsbury versus Sean McVay, the record speaks for itself. So, like, that's one I'm really, really looking at. Like, this is a really tough slate. I'm also looking at the Ravens -3 against the Pats. I just think the Ravens are way better than them, and I think we're getting a little bit of value after the Dolphins just kind of came back against them, and we have the Patriots covering against the Steelers. Like, the Pats are not good in my eyes.
Is that New England?
Sorry?
Is that in New England?
No, yeah, it's in New England. It's in New England. So they're -3 on the road. I really, really like that line too.
To piggyback there, Pat's money line was my play of the week, and even though it won last week, I'm not bragging. I actually expected I was willing to take them as high as -5. Thankfully, I didn't have to because I would have lost. But to your point, I was not as impressed. I thought they got outclassed by Miami, and I expected a bounce back against a far inferior one-sided Pitt.
Exactly.
And I was not. They did not look that good. It's weird. I jumped really quick, and I am now off the Pats train. They made me my money. I went to the booth. I collected, and now I think I'm actually on Baltimore this week as well. I have it as one of those games circled that I haven't delegated a unit amount to it, but I will not be betting the Pats in that game. It'll be Baltimore or nothing, and I just haven't decided where it shakes out.
You know what's crazy?
Sneaky dog, Colts.
All right, so I'm glad you said that because I'm getting to that in a second. But I did want to mention the AFC East. I was looking at the odds this morning. This is crazy to me. The Dolphins are +400 in the AFC East. The Bills are -400. The Pats are +1,200, and the Jets are 40-1. Is that? Do you see any value on Miami right now? I know it's kind of like a buy high spot after last week, but the fact that they're still 4-1, they could beat Buffalo at home this weekend and be 3-0 in the division with Buffalo sitting at 2-1. I know Buffalo is a powerhouse, but 4-1 odds on Miami. What are your thoughts on that?
I can go first or second. You tell me.
Yeah, you do whatever. Go ahead, Gino.
I would take Miami money line this week more than I would take them to win that division. Like,
they're +5.5 at home, which is crazy.
I look at it like this. It's actually a pretty low spread, right? They're begging the public to bet on the Bills. They did that week 1 and they're doing it now week 3. They did not do that in week 2, but they're begging them to bet on the Bills again. To me, I'll just give a narrative that might be false, but I believe it. Miami has a better chance of winning this game and losing the division than they have a chance of winning that division, even if they win this game. So I don't see it. I don't see the 4-1 as enough.
I actually think that the public are going to be on Miami at +5.5 after them putting up 40-some points last week. I know the public's always betting on Buffalo, but I won't be surprised if there's close to even action on this game. But
I think the Bills are so good. They were without Ed Oliver and Tre'Davious White yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that pass, literally, I know I keep going back to baseball. Dude, Allen looked like a freaking shortstop. That pass to Diggs, it was in the air for like a second and a half. It looked like he snapped. It looked like he was throwing a baseball, not a football. The time it took the ball to get there, I was like, did my TV lag and then skip a second? I was
throwing
like
95-mile-an-hour fastballs.
I was like, I don't think I've ever seen. I like those net gen stats. They didn't give me anything. I wanted to look up if that was the fastest ball thrown this year. It was on a rope.
Besides the Justin Herbert where he like limped off and then throws an absolute seed-eyed Chargers backdoor cover. That was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Why is he in? And then
he's crazy.
Going back to that Bills-Titans point for a second, or Bills, I would not bet on Miami. Like I personally think that's a donation in my eyes. Like Miami's a good football team. I think they're a playoff team, and I think they're going to continue to make noise. I'm not going to bet on the Bills because I kind of agree with Gino. I think it's a square spot to bet them, but they'll probably cover because they seem far and away better. They were without Ed Oliver, who I'm so high on Ed Oliver. I think he's phenomenal in the trenches. Like that's where I like to gauge football betting. Who's going to win the trenches? Like it's fun to talk about who's the quarterbacks, but who's got a better O-line and D-line. That's why I was so far on the Eagles. I almost thought that bet was too easy, Matt. I thought it was too easy.
I didn't bet on it because I'm a biased fan and I couldn't jinx us, so I stayed away. Like, but it did look.
Eagles, I thought I was like, this is Eagles -7. I mean,
and it's Kirk Cousins. It's Kirk Cousins in prime time too. It made no sense. Gino was telling me the other day, he thought that line should have been 3.5, 4. But
agreed. That's why I thought it might be a trap. But I was like, I can't not bet on the Eagles in the spot. They are just a better football team. They're at home, and Kirk Cousins in prime time. Like I just can't. Exactly. If I lose, I chalk it up. But I was so the Bills are great in the trenches. They're really good. They have Josh Allen. They have a great secondary. They have great linebackers. They have zero weaknesses, and you can't find that in the NFL currently. Yeah. Like I personally may do well, but it's Bills.
I personally will not be surprised this weekend if Buffalo comes into Miami and holds them to 10 to 14 points and wins like a 24-10 type of game. Division game goes under. I actually think that the Bills will be more of a sharp play than public play this weekend because I think the public is going to be on Miami. I might be dead wrong, but
I want to piggyback with you, Matt. It's not that I disagreed with what you said. I would just word it a hair different. I think you're getting value on the Bills because people are high on Miami.
Agreed.
Which is kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Where like I think Bills should be minus like 7.5, 8.5, and you're getting them at that. What is it? Is it sitting cute at 5.5? Is that where they left it?
5.5, yeah.
If I see public all over the Dolphins, I will be slamming.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Tua was fun. Let's see him up against the Bills.
Yeah, I know Peter's got to jump in a minute, but Peter, before you jump, I got to give you my dog of the week. You hit it earlier in the show. The Colts +6.5. Now, granted, I'm gonna try to see if this number hits 7, but this play matches almost 3 systems in our Discipline the Gens group. System number 1, betting against the public after a bad game, hits at a 61% rate this season. Criteria: must have scored between 0 and 9 points the game prior, scored 0 points last week. They scored 0 points last week, and 70% of the public or more is fading them. I was looking at it already. It's like 18 to 20% of the action is on the Colts this week against the Chiefs. Then number 2, 0-2 against the spread teams going in the week 3 as an underdog, hits at over a 60% rate. And then the third system, it doesn't fully match this, but it's pretty damn close. Bad offensive performances in a blowout loss, hitting at a 62% rate. Now, the team had to score between 0 and 17 the week prior. What did the Colts score? 0, right? They have to be an underdog this week, and they had to have lose by 28 or more. They lost by 24. So it doesn't fully match that last system, but I love the Colts this week. They're going home. Matt Ryan is a home dome quarterback. They're going to beat the Chiefs outright this weekend at home to save their season. They're not going down 0-3. That's my prediction.
And I might be the last person still high on the Colts. Like I picked their over win total. Like I picked them to win the division. Now that's looking like a sour take.
You ready for this? They're plus 130, and they're still the favorite to win the AFC South. Right now, in the AFC South, the Colts are plus 135 on BetUS. The Titans are plus 200. The Jags are plus 275, and the Texans are plus 1,200. I think the Colts turned their season around and look like a completely different team at home in Week 3, and I think they beat the Chiefs outright.
Yeah, what are the Chiefs going to win every game? They're going to go 17-0 this year?
Yeah.
There's some losses in there. Like I was eyeing the Colts. I same thing as you, Matt. I'm waiting for it to get to 7. I want that touchdown because the Colts going to win. I'm not sure, but I do love the cover. Like I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. You know, Andy Reid, when he's got time to prepare, unreal. When he knows his opponent, unreal. Off a bye.
Let me ask
give Andy Reid that much time, but like in these type of scenarios, like kind of like in betweeners, Colts could win. But Frank Reich is so bad, and the offensive line has been trash. So it's like it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough because your brain says like, "Hey, Peter, it's Chiefs, duh." But also like my gambling brain's like, "What? It's that easy?"
Yep.
No.
If this was a Week 1 matchup, the Colts would be like a pick 'em at home here.
Exactly.
And let me
maybe not a pick 'em, but like 2.5.
Maybe plus 2.
Before we lose Peter, I'm gonna try and we're gonna do a quick session. We need a dog out of the weekend. You gave us Baltimore, we'll take it. You gave us the Rams, another favorite, we'll take it. We're gonna try and hold you and just say pass or stay on it. We got Carolina home. Saints. You passing on that game, or you considering Carolina?
The sharp side is Carolina, but
we'll keep going.
I hated the way they played in Week 2. Like I know it's like then now is the perfect time to bet on, but I just like I can't back Baker. He sucks.
I get it.
He's so bad. He's so
That'll
bad.
be a clip.
So
I can't bet Baker. He sucks.
Yeah, I can't. I can't bet Jets. I can't bet Baker anymore. He's done. I hate him.
Houston's only plus 2.5 in Chicago.
They're gonna win that game. Like the Bears suck.
There it is.
They're gonna win that game for sure. I love that one. Yes.
I got 2 more that I think are gonna make you think. The Titans are plus 2 at home, hosting the Raiders.
The sharp side is Tennessee, and the Sharps are gonna lose.
Agreed.
The Titans suck.
The Raiders are in the
They're a
same
bad
spot as the
football
Colts. They can't go down 0-3.
Titans are a bad football team.
I got my last one, and this is my play of the week, so I'm not going to open up mine until after I hear from you. We have Green Bay going into Tampa. Green Bay is plus 2.
Give me Tampa.
Matty?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think Green Bay's offense is going to do much against that. That Tampa defense, I would make the argument they're the best in the league.
Yeah, if that offensive line for Green Bay doesn't get healthy, like there's going to be so much pressure. Like if they can't run the ball, they're screwed.
Agreed.
That over-under has dropped drastically. It's now at 41.
Oh,
it's wild. Wildly low. 2 good defenses, though.
Yeah, that's a crazy low number, but it makes sense.
This won't be my largest bet of the week. So when I say play of the week, I want people to know that I mean personal play of the week, not backed by data. I'm going to go Green Bay money line here. No data is backing that up. That is just my personal play of the week. It'll just be a unit. But I was thoroughly unimpressed with Tampa Bay for 3/4 of that Saints game. And I feel like the Saints and the flags and stuff bailed Tampa Bay out. A couple bad plays from Winston that will not happen. That will not happen with Rodgers. I feel like Tampa Bay got bailed out in that game. So just a play of the week. No data to back it. So I'm only going 1 unit, but I'm going Green Bay money line. And I like it.
I hope it hits for both of our sakes.
I want to see who's healthy and who's not.
That's fair.
I said Tampa because we have to pick a side, but like it doesn't mean that I'm betting Tampa. I need to see how that line matures.
And I don't like
But like, I think Tampa's one of the best teams in the NFL still. Like,
agree, and I'm still not sold on them, but their defense looked so damn good. Like they were everywhere. I'm also, I don't like the overbuying into one star out, but Evans out in that game to me is something.
If Godwin going to be back?
I'm not sure.
You know what Tampa reminds me of this year? They remind me of the Denver Broncos when they had Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl. The defense carried Peyton the entire year. The veteran quarterback legend carried him the whole season, and Peyton didn't even do much in the Super Bowl. Von Miller got the MVP. I could see this year the defense taking Tom Brady. Yeah, I can see it.
And again, I just want to be right on this. I just am starting to feel Tom not getting as many calls as he used to, not the golden boy like he used to be, not making some throws that he used to. I'm trying to see what I want to see because I said Tampa Bay is not in my top 5. Their defense is in my top 2. But I just think it's a good spot to get plus money on Green Bay. Green Bay impressed me this week, and I like connecting things. I'm like, is Green Bay that good? If yes, I have some value on Chicago money line. If Green Bay's not that good.
Here's another rule I have. I will never fade Tom Brady. I maybe like the other side. I like the Saints. Didn't take him. I don't fade Tom Brady. I either take him or I pass or I go on a total. Max Kellerman said the same thing you're saying, Gino, a couple of years ago.
People have said it.
I do not want to be on the opposite side of that man, the GOAT of all sports. I'm out.
No single human has cost me more units in my life than my fading of Tom Brady.
Like, sadly. I think in, what was it, week 1 or something, super sharp to be against the Bucks, and they beat the Saints. Like, it's always sharp to be against Brady, and then he wins by 10. And then you're like,
I agree. Dude, it was great having you on. I'll let Maddie close it out.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll let you jump. I know you got to do the Twitter Spaces, but really appreciate you coming on, my man.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. I'll come on another time too. Thanks, guys. For
sure. Thanks, bro.
Cheers, brother.
On a warm summer's evening, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with a gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness till boredom overtook us, and he began to speak. He said, son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces and knowing what the cards were by the way they held their